Good evening to everyone. Welcome to the meeting of December 15th, 2025, regularly scheduled meeting of the East Bridgewater Planning Board. It is 7:20. I apologize for the late start. And just for the record, this meeting is being recorded. Tonight we have four members present. We have Diane Phillips, Rachel Tedesco, Vice Chairman Roy Gardner, myself, Kevin Riley. Don't have a particularly large agenda to go through tonight. I would report to the board a couple of things. One, with respect to under the Form A section. Since our last meeting, Roy did approve a Form A plan for property on Plymouth Street, Old Plymouth Street, I guess. There was a change that was made, or an addition that was made by way of a note that was added to the plan, and then it was signed off. Reason being that we had not met, or were not going to meet within the period within which we needed to act to get that plan signed based on the date of its filing. So just report to the board, and you have a copy of that in front of you.
Right.
If you have any questions, we can certainly go over that, but Roy, did you have any particular comment on that, or?
Yeah, let me just quickly go over the issue on this plan. Was that it was my understanding, after talking with the office at C.W. Garvey, that the plan was to change the ownership from what's labeled here as Lot A1, address 1194, to the house that's back at number 3 Bridle Path. It's that parcel that I labeled parcel A2 is actually I think they used to call it Pony Town. I'm not sure what the business is called now. In any case, it's operated as a business with two large accessory buildings that are both barns. And I think the problem we had, well, technically speaking, geometrically, this meets a Form A requirement. It has two large accessory buildings on it, which if that was to become an independent lot with an independent deed, they're not accessory to anything anymore, which we've been told we can't allow to happen. We can't create a zoning violation by endorsing a Form A plan. So we added a note, which we've been advised to do previously, and have put on plans probably 7 or 8 times in my time on the planning board, that basically says that parcel A2 has to remain in common ownership with a parcel that has legal frontage within the zoning district and has a principal building on it. And my understanding is that was the intent all along of what they're trying to do. They want to sell the property from the parents to it's a daughter or daughter-in-law, it's some other family member in any case, at number 3 Bridle Path. And as I understand it, she's actually the one that runs the business that's handled on that parcel.
Yeah, okay.
So given the timing that was done, I added that note, which is worded pretty much identical to the note that we were advised way back in the late 80s, early 90s to use. It was actually one of 2 notes, and I asked our chairman if we use the second note, which this one is, whether that would be the one appropriate for this plan, which I thought it would be, but
Okay.
he did confirm that, so that plan has been endorsed.
So just to be clear, so parcel A2 is now owned by the,
So right now, it's still owned by the one in the front.
Right, so the
1194.
intention is that
Okay.
these folks at 1194, the Fords, would convey that parcel to the owner of number 3 Bridle Path, who I believe, as Roy says, is daughter or daughter.
Yeah, so just for clarity, important to understand that whatever we put on the plan doesn't convey anything, right? When the plan is recorded, it allows a deed to be drawn, and then that deed be used to convey the property to someone that fits the restrictions within that
okay.
note that's on the plan. And as far as I know, that hasn't happened yet. It could have, but we wouldn't know right away, because it takes anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks before the assessor's office will get a bundle of deeds from Plymouth County Registry and update their records.
Oh,
And I think they update their records quarterly. The information comes from Plymouth County Actually, I think every 5 or 6 weeks. One of the ways you can track that is the Brockton Enterprise, and I believe it's every Friday, has a list of properties conveyed in towns.
Okay.
And if you actually go look at one of those at the registry, that listing at the Enterprise trails the date on the actual conveyance by 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, any questions?
Yes. No.
Okay.
Good, okay.
That's good.
The next item is under Section C on the agenda, the Whitmarsh Lane extension. This, you may recall, was the request that the planning board make a recommendation with respect to the ultimate goal of the town accepting that street as a public way. The select board rather, was to hold their public hearing on the 8th, and the thought was that we would have done this on the 1st. Unfortunately, we did not have a meeting on the 1st, so we are a little bit behind on our action. I've actually prepared, and I've just shared it with Roy this evening, a form which I can give you guys copies of as well. The intent being that there would be several statements made here by both the applicant, there's two sheets.
Two sheets, okay.
By the applicant's engineer, a confirmation or an approval by the recommendation by the DPW, and then finally a sign-off by the planning board. You know, I personally,
This is really good.
thank you.
Wow.
I can't claim credit for authorship, but I can claim credit for some
Yeah.
tweaking of it, so. But, you know, the point is that, you know, with what we're being asked to do, essentially, we're, you know, being asked to make a recommendation of, you know, for approval, which is based on the fact that everything is in order from A, a title perspective, and B, from an engineering perspective. And, you know, while the applicants do provide that information, I think it would be nice just to have it in a very succinct statement somewhere in the file that before the board approves these things or votes to recommend these things, that, you know, we know that we're recommending, that it's all as it should be.
It's really helpful.
So, I don't know whether and I don't know whether any of you guys know on the 8th, whether the select board actually took any action on this, or if lacking a planning board recommendation, that they just moved it along to a further date on their agenda. But we certainly could take a motion, I suspect, to, you know, make a recommendation of approval contingent upon the various signatures and the DPW sign-off as well.
So moved.
So Mr. Gardner makes the motion to recommend the acceptance of Whitmarsh Lane extension.
And I'll second that.
With the caveat that the applicant provides a completed certificate, which has been introduced here tonight.
Okay.
So that motion is made and then seconded by Mrs. Tedesco. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Unanimous vote of all members present and voting. We did have a request with regard to a proposal for an amendment on the zoning map. That was a request that the planning board initiate a change, I believe it was to the B2 zone. However, that has the applicant who was going to, or the interested party who was going to come in and discuss with us tonight, has asked that the discussion be moved to January 5th, our first meeting in the new year.
Okay.
So we'll just we'll postpone that until then, based on the request of the interested party.
Voted on.
The next matter is with respect to 600 North Bedford Street, the Hart Hanks property. We received a request from the owners to make a change of address on two buildings. So basically, you've got a photo with a little bit of textual assistance on there that shows the two buildings in question. Those are buildings 1 and 5 in the Hart Hanks complex, for lack of a better word. They are two buildings, each of which is accessible only by way of Highland Street. So they are asking that, they're informing us that all of the buildings presently have a 600 North Bedford Street address, and they're asking that these two be separated out so that they have individual Highland Street addresses. Roy, is that, I mean, I would assume the proposal would be that, or that the appropriate action would be to get some feedback from DPW and fire, and then they would assign a number on Highland Street as well, or?
Yeah, I think we should take a vote to move forward with this, and then have the vote recorded in the form of an email with a copy to the fire department, the DPW, and the police department. And that the intention would be to assign addresses for those two buildings, since those two buildings are designed and intended to be accessed from Highland Street the way they're currently leased out. So I'd make a motion that we do that, that we generate an email.
So motion would be to notify the three affected departments by email that the planning board would wish to assign new street numbers to buildings 1 and 5, and to get any input from those departments, and it would be up to DPW, right, to assign a number or an address, a street number.
It's still not 100% clear to me where addresses come from these days. Normally, we were doing that
Oh, really?
for a long, long
It
time.
still does that.
So I think the planning board office is going to do that.
Okay.
The question came up in something else, actually. The thing we looked at earlier today is how those addresses got assigned, and no one seemed to know, but on that Plymouth Street property.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Plymouth Street property. But in any case, we should notify fire department, police department, and the DPW with a copy of this attachment should go on that email, and ask for their feedback on the fact that the request has been made by the landowner Equity Industrial Partners to assign Highland Street addresses for those two buildings. I think that's fairly explanatory in the note that's part of that attachment.
Yep.
And that,
So that would be the motion to then notify those departments, and then I would put that on the agenda for the next meeting to finalize that based upon any comments that those departments may have, and then an assignment of actual numbers by the office to the two buildings, numbers 1 and 5. Okay, so motion, seconded by Mrs. Phillips. Discussion, further discussion? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All unanimous vote of all members present and voting. Blackbrook Estates. So this has been pending for some while now with respect to the matter of continuing inspections. Apex Engineering has provided a proposal to do that. The applicant has placed additional funds in the engineering account so that there, the ability to do the inspections is there, but for the fact that Apex is requiring a signed update or letter agreement from the town to authorize that specific work. So the last document that I saw was requesting a sign-off on the part of the planning board, which is not the way that I thought this was being handled in the past. And I don't know that I'm either in a position to or necessarily willing to sign a on behalf of the town of East Bridgewater, you know, and contractually bind them somehow. So, I await suggestions.
Yeah, so my comment has always been that it was my understanding that potentially two different department heads would be signing that, depending on specifically who the end user of the agreement is. Now, one of those is the DPW, because they use Apex services directly in some cases.
Yep.
The other would be the building commissioner.
I thought that's what had been
Yeah.
happening, Roy, wasn't it? That Patrick was just signing off on these things?
Yes.
Okay, so,
So I think we need to further clarify, number one, what the intent of the new document is. And number two, where we as a planning board and as a town are going with the engineering services issue. Because speaking for myself, but as a member of the planning board, the current situation is untenable and needs to be fixed.
couldn't agree more.
While I fully understand that Apex, I'm sure, has a significant number of highly qualified engineers on staff, the cost of using their services versus the general cost of subdivisions and creating new lots in the town of East Bridgewater are out of touch with reality.
And, I mean, the other thing that I'll say, you know, is if you look at this letter that is looking for, you know, it's an updated letter agreement, or excuse me, it's an amendment to the original letter agreement. It's dated September 11th. So this has been kicking around for, you know, several months.
Yeah.
You know, between getting this proposal drafted, getting it, you know,
Yeah.
looked at by, you know, the appropriate folks, you know, above our pay grades. And, you know, some of it was the fact that the engineering account had to be supplemented by the applicant in the first place. But, you know, be that as it may, my point is that it's taken a considerable amount of time, which these things shouldn't. I mean, we should be in a position where these things can come in. They can be, you know, assuming that the funds are there to do these things, the contract should be signed and be able to just, you know, as a matter of somewhat routine. I'm sure this is, you know, this is the routine language. It's the, you know, they've probably been signed 10 times before. I've never been asked to sign them, you know, and so it's just not the way I think it's been handled. And I certainly agree with Roy that it would be nice if we could solve this engineering riddle that we seem to be in, because I think that, you know, it's becoming more and more difficult to, you know, to work it the way that we're trying to work it, I guess. So,
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things we can do, but what I would like to recommend is that for now, we ask that this be put on the track agenda for the next track meeting, which would be the first Wednesday in January. So we can have a thorough discussion with all of the impacted departments as to how this needs to be done.
Sounds reasonable.
I think we need to do one of two things. We either need to hire a town engineer. You know, I don't think we can wait any longer on this. Or, alternately, come up with a highly detailed and highly specific section to add to our subdivision rules and regulations that require that all steps be inspected and each step be certified by the applicable engineer that is working on that project for the applicant. And the applicant simply bear that cost of paying that engineer directly as part of the construction cost for the subdivision.
I mean, the only, I would certainly prefer, speaking personally, that it goes in the first direction, because I think obviously in the second situation, you know, you've got someone who is theoretically an advocate for an applicant being asked to sign off and say, yeah, everything's great, you know, and
Yeah.
Arguably a conflict of interest to
Yeah.
some extent.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
just a bit. So I
That
think
is so
that's
true.
not an ideal solution, but it's better than, you know, sort of, I mean, again, between the time and the cost, you know, I think in some of these cases, if you're a small contractor or something like that, I think that, you know, some of the fees, quite honestly, are onerous. So,
And that this problem, and John Haynes has already discussed with me in some detail, doing something like this final certificate of completion for the stormwater management permits, where some of those stormwater management permits have embedded engineering in them, especially ones that are building new houses where there's major changes of elevation on the site. Because the cost of having an outside firm review those documents, which would require a site visit to begin with, as well as some ongoing inspection work and then a as-built review, would add a significant amount of money to the individual house lot cost. Whereas if we had someone local, an engineer specifically, we could be doing that and be able to look at it the day it's being done,
Right.
which we don't have capability of doing now, which is a serious flaw,
Yeah.
serious flaw in the system.
yeah, I mean, I think that if you know, Mr. Contractor walks in, you know, today or tomorrow and requests, you know, or wants that type of an inspection, it's probably going to take several weeks at this point, if not more, right? I mean, it's, which is not the way that it should be, should be done.
So we need to have a further follow-up with the leaders of the town in the track meeting.
Yes. Yeah.
Do other towns have this type of engineer on site?
A
Absolutely.
lot
They
of,
have
yeah.
town engineers.
Many
Yeah.
towns now have a town engineer or
Yeah.
share. There are
Shared,
several
I
towns that
shared.
share a
Yeah.
town
That,
engineer.
yeah,
That would make so much sense.
yeah, we can't.
But we
this
need
is-
to do something
This
to
is too
fix
costly
that
for the.
I mean, well, yeah, I mean, but, you know, just going back to our last meeting, one of the things that we approved was the Tower Heights Phase 6, right? And we also, you know, one of the things that was requested of us was to add language into that decision, which basically said that the applicant's engineer would ultimately certify the fact that everything was constructed, most particularly the stormwater was constructed according to Hoyle. And, you know, again, it's better than nothing, but at the same time, it is the applicant's engineer who is being asked to
Right.
certify these things.
Right.
So, I mean, again, it's a professional stamp. I mean, certainly if I'm a professional, I'm not gonna stamp something that I know is wrong or not done to standard, but at the same time, it's not quite the same as the town's interest might be in
No.
these things, you know?
Yep.
So-
I totally agree with that.
I do too.
So while the first meeting in January of track seems like a long ways away, and it is to some extent, we're basically at pretty close to a stop in terms of subdivision physical construction and roadway work and stuff now, because there's frost deep in the ground now. We're not gonna see any paving being done, and we're not gonna see any major subdivision work being done. There's still gonna be work done in individual houses, but right now,
Yeah,
we're not going for an individual stormwater management stuff. We're not going to Apex anymore.
So
to
this
begin
will
with,
not
so.
be delaying the project.
I don't think so.
That much,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, I mean,
Understand.
we're not trying to be roadblocks. We're
No.
just trying to,
Don't, no.
that's not what we want to be.
Yep, I agree.
Right.
So we'll just, we'll note that that matter is going to be deferred until a discussion is had at the track meeting come January. And we'll put that on we'll keep that on the agenda as something that's being followed, just to make sure that it does get addressed.
Good.
Anything else from anybody?
I don't have anything right now.
No,
No,
Well, on behalf of the board, I just wish everybody out there who might be watching, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Good New
Yes.
Year. It's our last meeting of the year, so we will be back and do it again next year, and hope everybody has a good holiday season.
yeah,
That-
yes,
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion is made by Mr. Gardner to adjourn tonight,
I'll second that.
seconded by Mrs.
Great.
Tedesco. All in favor?
aye.
So voted.
Okay, thank you. And thank